Generation Alpha. Who are these kids? Are going to either be a parent, a grandparent, or perhaps a leader of these kids. They're aged between 0 and 12 years of age, born between 2010 and 2024. My husband and I just recently became grandparents to 2 babies, twin boys, and they're our favorite alphas. So no doubt you know some. And who are they? They are kids who have been born into a culture that is unique. It's a unique time, and they have different needs than others ever before. They have different characteristics. We've heard a lot about Generation Z. They are now 13 through 28, and we've heard a lot about them. Millennials are now the parents of Generation Alpha for the most part. And our alphas are now, the oldest, are moving out of children's ministry into youth ministry as they turn 13 this year. So who are they? Well, they're the first ever to be born into a world of technology. If you asked your older kids when they first received their phones or devices, their laptops, they probably would tell you around their teenage years, and they probably used them for school. But these kids, these babies, are being brought into a world where these devices are shoved into their hands from an early age. The other week, my husband and I went to a restaurant for dinner, and there was a table to our left with a couple of younger girls there. And remember that the paper menus, children's menus that kids were given, on one side there was a coloring sheet and they would often be given crayons. Well, that had been pushed to the side, and these 2 little girls, probably 5 and 7 years of age, were playing on their iPads. That's Generation Alpha. They are glass generation. That's what they're known as for their devices. They are predicted to become the most educated generation ever, surrounded by mostly educated parents. They are likely to be more wealthy since their parents are choosing to have smaller families, so there's more money to go around. They're going to be more diverse racially and more global, so the world is at their fingertips. They can Google anything and know whatever they need to know at whatever time they want to know. They're going to be more mobile with their work and their study and the way they live and play and travel. They can go anywhere, and it's interesting now that the average length of time that a person stays in a job is a little less than 3 years. So these alphas could be up to 18 different jobs during their lifetime. They're also being raised in a very confusing time with staggering social changes. Controversial issues that have been settled or not questioned by past generations are now completely up for redefinition. Issues such as marriage and gender are now front and center. And these kids are just too young to be able to understand the implications of these decisions or be able to decide which voices are the right ones to listen to. They're also being barraged by 24/7 media covering tragic events and drug overdoses, shootings and crime, wars. It's just a mess when I think about, can't even imagine trying to raise kids today. Normally, or at least in the past, they had the stability of the nuclear family. That has now been pretty much dissolved too, as single parents, cohabitation, absent fathers, working mothers are now the norm. You may have children with 2 moms or 2 dads, and there's the indoctrination of secular humanism, critical race theory, drag queens now sitting with kids sitting on their laps. It's just unfathomable. Add into that, of course, the worldwide pandemic of COVID-19. During that time, we called them COVID babies. We put a face mask on their little faces and isolated them from the rest of the world. They couldn't go to the park and play with their friends or go and see grandma and grandpa. They were basically isolated in their homes, and their devices became their classroom and their childcare as mom tried to work from home. We may complain about technology and the amount of screen time that they've got, but during COVID, technology was the solution. We have yet, I think, to fully grasp the impact of COVID-19 on these little ones. Experts tell us that the age that we have a traumatic event, it will determine how much it is embedded in our psyche, and I think we're just beginning to see the impact of that now. And after the pandemic, as things began to open up, a lot of families just didn't return to church, and the ones that did have become less and less frequent attenders as they search for things to fill the needs in their lives. We have more resources now than ever before, and yet research tells us that kids have become more spiritually distant than ever before. So why talk about Generation Alpha? Why is that important? I believe that if we're going to reach this generation, we need to understand them. So that's why I wrote the book, When You See Fireflies, and I'm glad that you've joined me. For the next 7 weeks, we're going to dive deeper into Generation Alpha and learn more about them, and I am glad that you're joining me. So let's find out, Generation Alpha, who exactly are you guys?
Grace for Kids.